Chapter 39, Demon Lord's Castle 6. Kududuk. Aim at the neck. Damn it. We're getting pushed on this side. The clansmen started to clash against the undead under the command of the clan lords. The sounds of crashing and ripping resonated from all directions. And within the small gap that the clansmen had created, Hansu and the special forces started to charge ruthlessly. Towards the giant statue, no, towards the demon lord which was stretching. And then Hansu, the special forces and the demon lord clashed aggressively. Kua! Maybe because it's a weaker version it cannot talk here. Hansu muttered inwardly as he looked at the 15 tall human-shaped demon lord. But, as I expected. Hansu clicked his tongue. The clan lords weren't attacking properly. They didn't have to kill the demon lord. They just needed to endure. 30 minutes. A time which could be held out if you focused on defending and dragged out the time. There were 12 clans and anyone who survived were part of the forces they could take above. It was obvious that everyone wanted to save as many as possible. And because of this the clan lords, despite having the special forces out in the front, were just keeping their distance. The demon lord threw a fist along with a rough scream while everybody was not fighting properly. Hung! The giant body combined with the unbelievable speed generated a tremendous amount of wind as it created a humongous shockwave. Boom! Got him it! Kuak! Ironically, the demon lord, the king of the evil clan, wasn't using any skills. The only thing it had was its overwhelming stamina, health, speed and regeneration. But this was dangerous enough to the point that every attack from the demon lord crushed the people ruthlessly, but this just suppressed the clan lords from taking action even more. If he had used an area of effect attack then they might have attacked him because of fear, but seeing that he was killing them off one by one, it seemed like they could keep quite a lot alive and then run away through the crystal. And even better if the special forces of the other clans die off. Got him it. Stick properly. Why are you backing off? Taijin gritted his teeth at how the others were acting. The only special forces that were fighting properly were Taijin's and Yareem's. These two didn't want to fight at the very front either. They had just stayed here because it seemed like everything would collapse in an instant if these two were to back off as well. But the one who was fighting the most actively at this moment was Hansu. Since the others were others and he had to kill this thing. He didn't have the leisure to care about other things anyway. Because only then would the demonic jade crystal come out. Hansu was currently fighting close to the demon lord. It's been a while since we fought. Barbotoi. It wasn't Hansu of back then. And it wasn't the demon lord of back then too, but fighting it whose attacks and habits were clearly inscribed in his head made it less of a burden for Hansu to fight. Barbotoi was a pure physical type. If he had gone up against someone with a peculiar skill then it would have been very pressuring even for Hansu. Of course the basic skill which it had, made it so normal clansmen wouldn't be able to come close. And that's why the special forces need to do well. Hansu flew around the demon lord as he started to tie it up with great vigor. Kuang! When the demon lord applied some strength, the chain made a crackling sound as if it was about break. That won't do. Hansu pulled out the new artifact he got. Chararek. As Hansu sent in some mana, the single dagger in his hands instantly turns into 12. One of the two skills of the Justice of Dekrados. The dagger could divide into 12 that had the same durability, but once one of them is broken, then the broken copy wouldn't be regenerated even if you were to use division again. Hansu dodged the attacks of the demon lord as he stabbed the dagger into the body of the demon lord who was tied up with the chain of judgment of Dekrados. Puck! Poo-poo-pook! The dagger went through the chain and got embedded. As it was made as a set item, the holes on each link of the chain were just the right size for the dagger to go through. The effect, which was activated when he used these two artifacts together, started up. And in this unique form, the chain became even stronger and the dagger sharper. Hansu, who had swiftly embedded all 12 daggers, aggressively pulled on the chain. Kudududuk. As he pulled the chains, the daggers which were embedded along with the chains followed as they sliced apart the demon lord's flesh. Like an electric chainsaw, As the chain which was tied around the demon lord were pulled, the daggers started to tear apart the flesh of the demon lord. Kua! It might break. As the enraged demon lord shook its body, the chain tensed up as if it was about to break. It was a situation where it couldn't untie the chain because the daggers were embedded deep into its body. But even if the set effect was activated, there was still a limit. But it doesn't matter. Chararek. As Hansu sent in mana waves, the 12 daggers combined into one and came into Hansu's hand. And it was a simple but very efficient function for the dagger. As long as there's these two functions, then there was no lack of firepower. As the daggers were removed and the chain was loosened, the demon lord started to become even more crazy. Wak! Goddammit! TSK. The special forces need to fight properly. Though he had turned it into a mess, it was regenerating at an extreme speed. Its true might came from that abnormal rate of recovery, ability to take hits, resistance, and things like strength, agility, and savagery were just the surface of it. The special forces needed to shove their skills into it and destroy it faster than the speed of its regeneration while he tied it up. There was a limit to how much one person alone could damage the demon lord. But though the special forces were attacking it, they were doing so in a very passive way and were using safe tactics so the damage couldn't catch up to the regeneration speed of the demon lord. If this continues, then more will die before 30 minutes are up. And the lords were all getting further away from the battlefield as if they had judged that the battlefield was dangerous. Hansu shook his head as he saw these signs. Bastards! What are you going to command from back there? Taijin gritted his teeth. It was better for the lords to be in a safer spot. Since it'll be over for everyone if they die. But if you wanted to raise the strength of the clan, then it was better to command from the center of the clansmen. It was good to leave things to work automatically, but it was also important to look over the situation of the battle to increase the strength of the clan by preserving their numbers and even making them fight forcibly at times. But the only ones who were fighting in the center of their clans were only Yerin and Taijin. The 10 other clan lords, including Guktai, had already backed off into the distance. The other lords smirked at Taijin, shouting in the distance. Why are you fighting in the front like that if you aren't of much help anyway? This bastard, if you take the people who protect us, then who is going to fight the undead? One of the lords laughed at these words. We only brought around 2 per person. Don't be so sensitive. And we already sent the special forces to the front. While Taijin was gritting his teeth, Guktai shouted while looking at him. You guys should come here too, since it's dangerous. Rather, it might become a nuisance because they have to protect you. I will humbly decline. Taijin, who had finished his words, controlled his clan as he charged towards the demon lord. And Guktai made a regretful expression as he looked at such Taijin and Yerin. 9, though it's a little regretful, this is enough. What? While the lords were making weird expressions from Guktai's words, the cape that was surrounding Guktai started to shine brightly. Fuck! What are you doing? Gultai giggled at these words. What do you mean, what am I doing? I'm calling some protectors. Once a day, the user can summon 12 designated protectors to himself. And the thing that had come out of the light were the Guktai's 12 special forces. Guktai spoke to the special forces. Get them. As soon as the words ended, the 2 protectors combined with the 12 special forces as they charged at the protectors of other lords. Kuaduduk. Kuduk. Kuek. Godammit. The 18 protectors fought back, but the power of the special forces were a step higher. And Guktai's special forces were even a step higher than that. Damn it! While the clan lords were calling their forces in a hurry, Guktai's other clansmen started to jump about crazily and started to get a grip on the people's ankles. Despite the difference in numbers, because they had defended with their lives on the line, the speed of the other clansmen had slowed down, and by the time the other clansmen killed off all of Guktai's clansmen and got near, the clan lords had long become hostages of Guktai. Guktai giggled as he looked at the 10 special forces around him who had become a mess. 2 had died and the 10 who were alive had become a huge mess, It was still easy for them to cut off the necks of the clan lords who they were holding hostage. One needs to just protect me. It's very clean. One of the clan lords gritting their teeth as he looked at Guktai. You crazy bastard. If this happens then you die too. Isn't your ability valuable to you? Why wouldn't they have thought of such a situation? The only reason why they weren't expecting internal fights between clan lords was because if one of the clan lords were to create a mess then they would all die here. What would you do if you take them as hostages? If you act crazily and create a chaos here, you will get pushed back by the undead and the remaining people will all die at the hands of the undead and the demon lord. It had already been a while since the fight had been tilted towards the advantage of the undeads in the fight in the distance. They had fallen quickly while the remaining clans were clashing. Hansu and the remaining 2 special forces were stopping the demon lord, but how would they hold out 20 minutes at this rate? They don't even have mini crystals. Guktai giggled as he laughed. It doesn't matter if I die. No, it wasn't that it didn't matter if he died or not. His job was to get everybody here and die together. Why would he have gotten rid of all the mini crystals? What? Was he such a maniac out of maniacs? And at that moment, one of the lords, who had a blade up against them, made a pale expression as they thought of something. You bitch, you aren't a lord. Some crazy bastard sent one of the clansmen instead of themselves. You crazy bastard. Do you mean that it's okay for you to die? Guktai's expression chilled at those words. Such a way of speaking when they had their fate in the hands of others despite having such formidable power of a lord. There's too much of a difference. He thought back of the scene when his lord had sent him here. The symbol could be given from a clansman and not a lord as long as the lord gave permission, and clansmen could communicate between each other through messages. The command was very simple too. Since there was the first command every newcomer of the clan received. If you do this then you can pretend to be the lord perfectly. As Guktai, who had finished thinking, gave a signal with his eyes, the grip of the special force member holding the lord's neck tightened. Squeeze. Kuk kuwuk. What do you mean crazy bastard? He's a much more formidable person than scrubs like you. And at the same time everyone's expression paled as Guktai laughed coldly at them. Hansu made a cold expression as he looked at the chaos occurring behind him. Fraud lord. A tactic which used one of their clansmen to pose as the lord, make them careless and then die together. Not everyone could do such a thing. First, if you want to become a fraud lord then you need to be able to sustain the same amount of clansmen as the other clans. Since it'll be weird if a clan lord who could command 100 did not sustain 100 people. Which meant that you needed to be able to control 100 people to reinforce the fraud lord and another 100 for himself, adding up to 200 people in total. And you also needed the commanding power to command suicide as well. Once the clansmen go under the lord, they create a connection between themselves and there are no occurrences where the lord cannot order a clansman because of such connections. Since clansmen and lords were in a system of up and down. But such a command like suicide is hard to make because usually when you give such an extreme command, the symbol will break most of the time. Of course there are exceptions there as well. A situation where you raised the trait of the lord with exceptional aptitude and had your trait become much superior to the point where the strength of your trait becomes much stronger than their soul. Once this happens then it was possible to command things almost forcibly. And there was a person who was capable of this in the past tutorial as well. A guy who showed extreme aptitude beyond the specialties of lords. Though the regrettable part was the fact that he was crazy. Dark Mad Lord, you've done something here. A typical example that showed that, although a crazy guy is dangerous, a crazy guy with good abilities is even more dangerous. And at the same time, one of the guys who will become the biggest obstacle in this preparation for the final dungeon. One of the representatives of the Hansu looked at Guktai, who had caused a chaos in the distance, with a cold expression.